What's up, YouTube? Episode 75 coming at you. Ashley and Nugget are here. Jamie's here. We were supposed to release this episode 7 minutes ago, and it didn't happen, so we are going to release this late. But episode 75, thanks for all the help getting the word out that we are on episode 75. It's been an amazing year and a half, so we're going to get moving. Jamie's filling in. I don't know if she's going to talk or not, so yeah. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
If you're going to talk, you need to pull that closer to you.
You have something you're going to want to say?
No, but you're going to have to say, I mean, if you want to stop me because I say something.
Can't
ready?
imagine, but yeah, I'm ready for that stuff.
Your mom. Hey, Cheryl. Anyways, 3. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Made for More Consulting Podcast. It is episode 75, and we are releasing this on the day of, so it's being recorded and released today. We are about 8 minutes late, so if you are used to getting this on Sunday evening, we apologize. You know what, I'm just going to say screw that and re-record. Hang on.
Okay.
Because YouTube, hang on. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Made for More Consulting Podcast, episode 75. We are all about helping leaders grow, because if you are a leader and you're not growing, you can't give what you don't have. So Made for More Consulting is all about motivating, inspiring, and encouraging leaders through personal development and leadership development. So tonight, episode 75, it's been awesome to see all 75 episodes come to be. Tonight, Adina's not here, Etienne's not here, but Ashley and Jamie are here. Jamie has headphones on. If you are on YouTube, go check it out. She doesn't want to say anything, but she might. Nugget's also here, and then my daughter Sam is behind the camera. But we are excited, and this episode's a little late being released, and just a lot of stuff coming back from vacation. Jay and I could not get our second episode to just fall on schedule. We had you've heard of winter storms and snowstorms and rainstorms, but we had a dust storm and it was nasty, and I think I got sick after. So anyways, Jay and I could not record, and tonight's a one-off again. It's going to be just a little bit about something that's very important to each of us individually, and we'll get to that in a second. But if you didn't listen last week, it's an interview with Jay Mayo on Epic Warrior, a nonprofit exists to help first responders. You want to go check that out. And if you're a first-time listener today, go back and listen to episode 65. and it's called this: We Are Made for More. You want to go listen to that because it tells you a little bit about Made for More and who we are and what we are. So, yeah, here we go. Tonight is going to be all about what I would say personal growth, but I want to insert a word into personal growth, and it's going to be called personal intentional growth. So the reason that I'm putting the word intentional in it is because our growth does not depend on anyone else. So personal growth, personal intentional growth, same thing, I get it. But our growth, again, remember, does not depend on anyone else. We have to buy in that we are not content on if we're not growing. And so that's the whole reason Made for More exists, is because you want to understand and hope that you're made for more than where you're at right now. So here's what I want us to do right this second. If you're listening, I want you to get your phone out or make a note to set a reminder a year from now. So today is June 12th. So I want you to go to June 12th, 2023, set a reminder. And here's what I want us to do. I want us to set that reminder so that next year we'll ask ourselves a few questions, and we'll get to those questions in a little bit. But it's going to be all about personal intentional growth. Are we going to be in the same spot that we are right now? Or are we going to be a different person, a different leader? And yeah, we're going to make a few notes today about intentional growth, personal intentional growth. I believe there's going to be 4 of them. And if you are going to say anything, Jamie, it would help out, so I can take a break every now and then.
Okay.
But right now she's just looking at me, so make sure you guys go watch YouTube, because she's just sitting there. But and actually, if you have anything, please feel free to share. So personal intentional growth, why is that important? Because again, as leaders, if we are not, we can't offer what we don't have. So number one, personal intentional growth, I would say one of the first notes you would make is it's all about long game mentality. And meaning that's the strategic plan. There's tactical and strategic, but long game mentality, you have to have a long game mentality. When you're talking about personal intentional growth, you cannot grow right now to where you want to be a year from now. So when you made that note in your phone that, hey, there's a reminder next year, you and I can't grow tonight to be a year in advance, right? It's going to take you making intentional time and commitment to grow every single day, whether you do that daily or weekly. A while back, I think last year, we did this book called Atomic Habits. We went over Atomic Habits, and it talked about the 1% rule. We discussed that growing each day by 1%. And so if you grow each day by 1%, guess what you have at the end of a year? 365% growth. Versus maybe you grow here and there every now and then, and you don't intentionally commit to something. So number one about personal intentional growth is you have to have a long game mentality. And I put how though, by being intentional daily. Intentionality leads to discipline, and discipline leads to results. And that's the whole reason that we go by discipline equals freedom. Making the discipline daily to grow intentionally. Think of it, I know that my daughter started this, Sam. She started planting plants, and unfortunately we stopped watering them. So they stopped growing, and then they died. So, and then I don't even know where the pots of plants are, or the pots are. But if you think of your intentional growth and long game mentality as a plant, whatever you water is going to grow. If you don't water it, then it's going to die. And overnight, it's not going to happen. So what we want to do is make sure that if we're going to grow over a year, and we're going to be a different person, you have to water that daily. What you put in is what you're going to get out. So, yeah, I don't know about you guys, but you guys are just staring at me like, y'all are funny.
We're listening.
So, excuse me as I take a drink of water, but guys, I think again, if you can, number one, keep the long game mentality in check, you'll remember to water the plant daily, and so you got to grow daily. Number two, personal intentional growth note is compounding daily wins. So, what that means is, you're good actually. I'm gonna call you out. It's okay. So number one was long game mentality. Number two is compounding daily wins. This means it may sound a little bit like I'm going against about what I just said is about long game, but here's what I need you to think about is your mindset has to be long game, but your actions have to be daily. So again, your mindset has to go, I want to win long term. So how do I do that? Well, you got to compound the wins daily. So that means you have to take action every single day to grow personally. You have to be committed to growing personally daily, right? Small daily wins. Think about where you're at right now, whether it's good or bad. It didn't happen overnight. It took daily wins or daily poor choices, right? Whether that's leadership, personal, whatever it is, you did not get where you're at right now overnight. It took daily small wins or poor choices. It's that age-old question that we ask ourselves: how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So, how do we get out of that place of, hey, I'm in a place right now where maybe I'm not compounding daily wins? How do I get out of that place? You go back to watering the plant. You have to compound daily actions. You have to make better choices daily, not just to go, hey, I'm going to make better choices. No, you have to act on that, which means I have to have wins. I have to have personal development every single day. So remember the tortoise and the hare, right? You remember that story?
Mm-hmm.
Did the hare ever win? No, he never wins. Right? The hare is racing the tortoise, and it's a slow and steady win the race. Why? Because the tortoise was consistent. Consistent leads to results, and when you have enough consistency, it leads to discipline, and then when you have enough discipline, that leads to more actions, which leads to more results. So, no matter how many times you read the tortoise and the hare always wins, and the hare always loses, the tortoise always wins. So, regardless of how many times you read that, hare never wins. There's a reason that we talk about if you want to go fast, then that's cool, but I think going slow, you're going to be consistent and you're going to win. So, yeah, number one, again, if we're going to talk about personal intentional growth, number one is keep long game mentality in check. Number two is, you got to have compound daily wins every single day. So your mindset is a long game and your actions are daily. So number 3, this one's pretty simple, guys and girls. It's no shortcuts. I don't think I need to explain much here, but if you take shortcuts, you're only going to get what you put in. I love what Jocko says in one of his episodes. He says there's no shortcuts, there's no hack. But I think that I ask myself, why is it important that we say there's no shortcuts or no easy button? And I say this because we live in a fast food and app world, and I can bypass any line that I want. I can scan the QR code and get ahead of the game. But when it comes to growth, it's all about what time you put into growing. Because what time you put in is what you're going to get out. No one else can help you grow as far as personal intentional growth. I can't speak that into existence for you. It has to be you putting that time in. So there's no shortcuts. And so if you're listening now and this sounds daunting, or it sounds like a lot, or if you have some shame and some guilt, then what we got to do is stop, detach, take a deep breath, and go, I just need to pick one area of my life that I need to grow in, and I need to start small. Start 1%. If that's financial, then hey, do you have a budget? No. Then there you go. All you gotta do is search for how to start a budget, or you can go on search free budget. What is it called? Spreadsheet. Whatever you gotta do. There's free things out there, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But if all this sounds daunting, again, take a deep breath. Forgive yourself wherever you're at if you feel like you're feeling bad, and just go, hey, I got to start small, 1%. So tomorrow, what are you going to do about where do you want to go? And again, we'll talk about that in a second. Or how do we start to grow with this intentional growth? So let me rehash these things. So if we're talking personal intentional growth, number 1, we got to have a long game mentality, meaning we got to know where we want to go. Number 2, you got to compound daily wins, which means you got to take action every single day, because they're going to compound and add up. Number 3, remember that there's no shortcuts. There is no hack. There is no app taking you to a place where you're going to be overnight where you want to be in a year. But you do have to take growth. You do need to remember that there's no shortcuts, and that you got to forgive yourself wherever you're at. Or if something's not working, then just change it. So the last note that I have for you is number 4. It's this, and it's so simple, is it's free. Personal intentional growth is free. There's no excuses as to why we should not be growing. And I think if the world right now just took ownership and said, and we just said, hey, I just don't want to grow, or I just don't want to do that, I would rather hear that than a bunch of excuses, because I can come up with every excuse that I didn't wake up and go run or walk. Hey, it's too hot, it's the middle of the summer. Okay, well then buy a freaking treadmill. Well, I don't have the money. Well, then you're gonna have to wake up earlier than anyone else because it's cool outside. Well, it's always hot. Well, you gotta find a way to do something and quit making excuses, because you're never gonna get to the place that you want to get to in a year with excuses. And every one of us has excuses if we want to use those. But if you take ownership and just say, hey, I just don't want to, then I'd rather take honesty than an excuse. This week, I believe our friend Stephanie Cranky listened to episode 65, which I encourage you guys to go do so if this is your first time listening to Made for More Consulting, because she said she listened to episode 65, and today she sent me a snap of her setting up her treadmill. So she set up her treadmill and she captioned it with, "This is your fault." So I said, hey, that's cool, but you know what? You're taking ownership of the goals that you want to reach. So personal intentional growth, it's free, and so are excuses. Excuses are free to make, but again, that's not going to get you where you want to be. The other thing I want to tell you guys about it's free is I'm going to give you a list of free things that you can do, because in a day like in modern day right now, like I said, there's no shortcut, but there's so many free things. Podcasts. I can't tell you the books that I've read or purchased right now that are sitting in my bookshelf, that there's podcasts right now of those books that are free. And here's a few names. I'm even giving you the names right now. When we have to take ownership over personal development, I'm giving you a head start right here. John Maxwell podcast. Go download or go to the Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Search John Maxwell and hit subscribe. Andy Stanley Leadership Podcast. Go hit subscribe. Jocko Podcast. Go hit subscribe. Entree Leadership. Go hit subscribe. Or just go to those places you listen to your podcast. Search leadership. And if you subscribe to any of those, you're going to get free stuff that most people had to pay for back in the day because we didn't have podcasts. But here's the key with podcasts. If my focus is 1% on anything, if I want to grow in leadership and I hear anything anything from any podcast that is leadership, and I go, hey, that actually applies to me, then I'm going to hit pause if I need to, write that down, and I'm going to apply that right then and there. And again, for me, it was Jocko Podcast. When I first heard of him, I listened to his TED Talk, which again is another way, a free example that you can grow. But I was listening to Jocko Podcast, and I wrote down every single day what I learned for a year from his podcast. So most of his podcasts are 3 hours long. So for over 3 hours, I heard so many things that I applied in my life, but I had to hit pause, write it down, continue listening, hit pause, write another thing down, and go, okay, I need to apply these things at some point. I can't just listen. I got to act on it. So with podcasts, make sure that you listen to something, and if you already hear something, you go, hey, that actually applies to me right now, then hit pause, hit stop, whatever you got to do, write it down, and then continue listening. Or if that's too much for you, just hit stop and just apply what you've heard and then get back to it. But with podcasts, again, the key is you got to put those things into action and be listening for any type of area that you're trying to grow in. If it's finances, maybe you hear something about budgeting and you write those things down. So podcasts, they're free. Books, free books. Search Audible. There's a free section of Audible. I'm sure they have leadership books that are free. If not, search Google for free PDFs of leadership books. There's free PDFs out there. There's free chapters that you can read and go, hey, you know what? I picked up on this. And again, 1%, it's growth. Ask a friend to borrow a book that maybe they've read that they have on their bookshelf. Again, we give away books from here. Once we finish them, all you got to do is write us an email at info@made4more consulting, and we send you the books that we actually read. Podcasts, free books, and here it is again. YouTube, TED Talks, Jocko Podcast. Search leadership lessons on YouTube. There's endless possibilities for you to grow. I just think that we're so used to going, if it's not on an app, if it's not free, if it's not delivered to me, then I don't want it. Well, here's what I got to tell you. Then the rest of our lives, we're just going to be held to saying, they didn't bring it to me, they didn't cater it to me, so I'm just not going to do it. And in the end, those things that you want are not going to be supplying you with the development that you want. So again, it goes back to, you have to have a long game mentality. You got to compound daily wins. You got to remember there's no shortcuts, which is there's no excuses. But in the end, personal development is free. Do you agree with all that?
I do.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
You have anything to say?
My only thought was,
Because I'm about to talk about how do I do this?
yeah, my only thought was how hard that is sometimes. Seems like certain seasons you can grab a hold of one thing. Like I was thinking about when I was super motivated to do my vocal lessons every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could tell at the end of the week how much my voice was getting stronger. But then like today, because I haven't been doing my vocal lessons for about 2 weeks, I could tell how it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, gosh, just something so small as spending 15 minutes a day
Yep.
strengthening my voice makes all the difference in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've seen that throughout my life, you know, obviously with my health, with my eating. When you let that mentality be your mindset, it does do all the things. But
Yeah.
it's real easy to get sunk back into, oh, it's too hard. That 1% feels too hard. So, and then you reap the consequences of that.
Yeah, and I think you get stuck on that. But the other thing that I want to mention that you probably brought to mind, that you did bring to mind, is if you're doing vocal lessons because you're singing every week, or maybe you're trying to lose weight every week, maybe you're trying to get in shape every week, maybe you're trying to be better at finances every week. I'm taking Jamie's example of vocal lessons. Well, and I'm just going to tell you, when you're disciplined to do something, it gets boring sometimes. But here's the other thing is, well, then Monday do a vocal lesson, Tuesday read something about vocal health, follow vocal that's the other thing. Let me talk to you about free stuff again. Go to Instagram and search leadership. Go to Instagram, search for diets. Go to Instagram, search for fitness. Whatever you want to do, remember that you got to find something that works for you. But there's so much free freaking stuff out there that there is no excuse that you can't do something. And I get it, it's tough to hear that. But the reason Made for More exists is because we have taken that mentality of, we have to take ownership of our lives. No one else is going to say at the end of our lives, hey, they didn't do that because we did that to them, or we did this and that inhibited them to grow. No. Personal growth can be, again, mental, physical, emotional growth, all those things. There's so many things under those three headings that you can go, well, I need emotional help. Well, then let's go and go check into counseling. I can't afford it. Well, then find someone who does it for free. Go to a, what are they called? What was it, Abby? Sal's ex-wife?
Social worker.
Yeah, go to a social worker and say, I need someone to talk to. You have to search that out. They're not gonna come to you. Personal growth has to start with 1%. So going back to Jamie's is, yeah, vocally, I know I'm gonna sing every Sunday, okay? So then you need to give your rest on Sunday because you're actually using it. Monday, maybe you read something about vocal lessons. Tuesday, maybe you search somebody that's a mentor to you and you go, hey, what are they doing? Wednesday, I actually practice. Thursday, we have rehearsal Friday. So you break up those different things. For me, when it comes to leadership, it's I take a walk in the morning, every 30-minute, 45-minute walk every single morning or run. And that's number one, that's my physical part of it. But while I'm running, I try to focus, I try to focus on reading the Bible in a year, but also once the passages that I'm reading are done, I go right to my book that I'm reading for the year, which I finished today, which is, what was it called? Own Your Past.
So I have to say
Change Your
something
Future.
past.
Yeah, Own Your Past, Change Your Future. And I'm just telling you, that's another life-changing book. So as I'm running or as I'm walking, I'm listening to what is it? My personal growth. My personal growth is for me personally, not everybody else, but just, again, I'm owning that I want to read the Bible in a year and I want to read books. And so that's the time that I read it. I had a 5-hour drive today. No excuses. I put that on. My daughter had her headphones on. So what did? I'm driving, listening. I'm actively looking for places to go. I have to take ownership of my growth. It doesn't have to always be reading. I can watch a YouTube video while I'm taking an office day. Basically what I want you to do is to look at things differently. Don't think that you have to put this in every single day and go, this is the way it has to be. Find what works for you, look for that 1%, write it down and act on it. So, but I see how that, and again, we'll get to not beating yourself up if you miss a day, but you have to remember that discipline is not always fancy and always gonna be new. Some of those daily disciplines are gonna look the same over and over again, but when you look back, you have the growth and it's not always fun, so.
Yeah, what I love about this, because I'm such an all or nothing person, I don't know how many people are out there like me, but so it's hard for me just to do the 1% a lot of times, because then I think, well, then what about all the other areas that I'm not focused on that all need work?
Yeah.
You know, so it is good if you can let yourself just do the small and see the growth, and then pick another small and then see the growth.
Yeah, or break it up Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday I'm gonna do health, Wednesday I'll do finances, Friday I'll
That's
do
good.
whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think thinking outside the box, and that's why we exist. So if you wonder what Made For does for companies and personal people, individuals, this is what we do. We help them grow and get to the places they need to be at. So if you are at a place where you go, hey, I'd love to bring in a Made For More coach or help, again, info@madeformoreconsulting.com. Just email us and let me know how we can help, because we are growing and yeah, we're moving forward. So talking all about personal intentional growth. When it comes to this, I put down this next section and we'll wrap up with this. How do I do this? How do I grow? So I think the first thing you have to do, number one, is take an inventory of what areas you'd like to grow in. And so number one is write down the arena or area, whatever you want to call it: finances, leadership, development, parenting, marriage, emotional health, physical health. What was the other one? Emotional, physical, relational health. Whatever your goal is. Hey, I want to grow relationally. Hey, I want our marriage to grow. Hey, I want my parenting to be developed. Hey, I want my finances. Whatever it is, write it down and don't overwhelm yourself. Just one. Write down a few areas and pick one. And that's the first step is, where do I want to be in a year in my parenting? Where do I want to be in my leadership? Whatever it is. And so for me, like being the one that's giving this podcast right now, I'm just going to let you know, for me, it has to be my health. I just got back from vacation, and the last 3 nights I couldn't sleep because of the way I was eating. And part of that is when you're on vacation, I guess you can eat whatever you want, but you reap the consequences of the way you eat. So I didn't sleep much the last 3 nights, and then I had a 5-hour drive. But again, no excuses, because the ownership is, hey, if you want physical health and you want to feel better, then you need to be disciplined and making the right choices. Which again, and let me just take the example. If I choose health, that I'm going to break down after I write down my area, which is health. Well, what's an action step? Well, I'm gonna stop drinking Dr. Peppers for a year. I'm gonna stop eating so much fill in the blank. So again, we break that down. Number one, write down the area you want to grow in. Number two, search for resources, free or paid. Podcast, book, recommendations from your friends or a doctor or a counselor, videos on YouTube, whatever you got to do. People on Instagram, find something that search for resources. So write it down, search for resources, and remember, some of these can be paid, some of these can be free, some of it could be a group or some of it maybe have to be counseling. Some of it may be coming from a doctor or somebody that specializes in a certain arena of growth. Man. So write it down, search for resources. Number three is plan to grow. This is where intentionality comes in. So when we talk personal intentional growth, here it is. Number three is it plan to grow. Is it every other day? Is it every day? Is it a chapter a day? Is it a chapter a week? Is it a video a day or a video a week? And the reason I ask you that is because, again, today on a 5-hour drive home, I listened to part of I think it was 3 or 4 chapters, but in those 3 or 4 chapters, I wrote down about 10 different things that apply to a certain arena of life, and I got to apply them. So if the chapter a week is good for you, then guess what? That 1% may be 52% at 52 weeks in a year, right? So that may be 52% at the end of the year rather than 365, which is fine. That's a start. That's better than where you were last year. So pick, is it a chapter a day? Is it a chapter a week? Is it a chapter every other day? Is it a video a week? Again, plan to grow. And this means, for some of us, it may mean you having to write down, hey, you know what, from 6 to 7 in the morning, I'm going to get up and I'm going to read. From 6:30 to 7, I'm going to read. From 6:30 to 6:45. Whatever it is, you have to plan, because intentionality will lead to discipline, and discipline leads to results. And then when that's consistent and compounding, you get confidence, and then you just continue to grow. So write it down, search for resources, plan to grow. And a couple of notes here. I sometimes listen to the same interview or podcast, watch the video over and over and over again, and I pull different things from it, because sometimes you can listen to it, pull something different from a video or a podcast. So and that's one note, is listen to it over and over again if you need to. Number two, don't overwhelm yourself. Just focus on the 1%. I chose to write down each day what I learned. If it was big, then I shared it and I applied it. If it was something small that maybe no one else would care about, again, I continued to share those things, but I wrote those down daily. So again, write down the area you want to grow in, search for the resources in that area, plan to grow, so make a plan to grow. Number 4, take action on what you're learning. Learning something is great, but putting it into action is where the change takes place. Don't be afraid to pause the listening or reading until you put into action what you actually heard, and be consistent with that. So again, we are just learning to personally, intentionally grow. Write it down, search for resources, plan to grow, take action on what you're learning, and here's number 5, invite someone else to go with you as you learn and grow. Whether it's a spouse, whether it's a group, and just an FYI on a spouse, that can be a challenge. Jamie's here with me, but I'm just saying some of the things that I'm growing in, she may not have any interest in. There may be a group of guys, and in today's world, I'll just tell you this, I'd probably encourage you to have a group of guys, 2 or 3, or a couple of couples go with you, because in today's world, not only do we live in a fast food, is there an app for this, easy button world, we live in a world where we want to be alone. And if you can bypass that being alone and really embrace the challenge of growing as a group, then one, you're also taking care of your mental health and you're not alone. And when you're not alone, you're growing. So, but I am telling you, if you choose your spouse, it can be a challenge, right?
Oh, absolutely.
We're 2 different people when it comes to growth.
But we have certain things.
Oh yeah, because finances, I mean, you and I, we have to be on that.
Yeah.
So, and there's a compromise on each side. So, and I mean, again, at the beginning, you didn't enjoy listening to Jocko, neither did our girls, but within the last month, one of my oldest daughter used the word ownership, which was awesome. That was a win. She said that somebody didn't take ownership for their actions. So I know that Jocko would be proud. Whether it's business partners, a small group from a church, whatever it is. Excuse me, remember, this is life you're doing, so why not just invite someone in, and you never know the impact that's going to make. to grow. So a big note that I want you guys to know that I need to put right here, a little note on this is not everyone grows the same way. So don't beat yourself up if you miss a day. Remember, this is just life. Things are going to happen. Things are going to get in the way. But remember, number one was the long game mentality. You have to remember the long game mentality, that you want to be in a different place in a year and that you need to make progress, which again, you got to remember, I got to forgive myself for missing a day. It's not a big deal. Just get back up and go. If it's every other day, then start with every other day. If it's a week thing, then just go for a week. You have to plan to grow though. So don't beat yourself up. So if we're going to go back through that, how do I grow? Number one, write down the area. Number two, search for resources in that area. Number three, plan to grow. Remember, watering the plant. The only way it's going to grow is if you water it. Be intentional about it. Number four is take action on what you're learning. You can't just listen to something. You got to put it into action. Number five, invite someone to go with you. Invite a group of people. So I will tell you that I would love for you guys to read the book by John Delaney, which is Own Your Past, Change Your Future. Again, there's very few books that I say are life-changing, and that is one of them. Like, I mean, life-changing. I can't wait to put some of those things in action that I heard today. So, yeah, that's it. Personal, intentional growth. Did that make sense?
Absolutely.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Just making sure, because my wife's here with me, and sometimes I forget to say something, and she'll remind me, hey, maybe this or that. So, it did.
Yeah, it really did.
I was trying to, before I wrap this up, there's something I wanted you guys to do for me, and I'm looking for my notes on my iCloud, which I don't do iCloud notes. So, yeah, that sucks. So, anyways, in closing, do us a favor, go to wherever you listen to your podcast and click on the Made for More Consulting podcast. Give us a rating, 5-star rating is what Adina says. We really enjoy that. But also leave a review, let us know what you think. And I'm going to try to see if I can get the notes that I was trying to tell you guys about. Son of a gun. Do you have anything to say while I'm looking for this? No?
Really?
Come on now.
Not real good at just saying things off the cuff.
Why?
Just not.
Okay. So guys, go to social media, give us a follow at madeformoreconsulting.com. That's the number 4. If you want to listen to past episodes, you can go to madeformoreconsulting.com. That's the number 4, and go to the podcast page. And they're in order the way we released them. I don't know how your platform puts them on there, but that's the way we do it on our website. So there is something I want you guys to do for me. His name is Mike Hayes. I don't even know if this is legal, but I'm gonna do this because I am a big supporter of this guy.
H-A-Y-S.
What?
H-A-Y-S. Hayes.
H-A-Y-E-S.
Oh, yes.
I think. So his name is H-A-Y-E-S, Mike Hayes. He's a former Navy SEAL. And so the thing that I want you guys to do for me is please go and just buy his book. So his name's Mike Hayes. Go buy the book called Never Enough, because 100%, listen to this, 100% of the book sales, what do you call it? The 100% of the book sales profit goes straight to Golden Star families. And what that is any of our servicemen that were killed in combat or suicide, their families are stuck with mortgage payments. And what he's done is all the sales of this book go to paying off their homes. And so I think I just listened to an episode with him and Jocko, and he has already paid off 8 homes. And so he does share a story about having to come home and share with his best friend's family that her husband and their father had passed away. And it's a real story. I think that every person should listen to something like that so that you can see that each one of us is gifted in different areas, and the reason he wants to make a change is because he's walked through certain things and seen certain areas, and he wants to help. So just like us, we walk through certain areas of life and we want to help, so that's our calling. So Mike Hayes, I'm trying to see what his website is. I'm sorry, it's on the cuff that we're doing this. I think it's, this is Mike Hayes.
You can always put it in the comments.
Yeah, we could always, you know what, we'll put that in the notes. Good call, Vic. So it'll be in the comments, but the book is called Never Enough, a Navy SEAL Commander on Living a Life of a excellence, agility, and meaning. It's really good. He's really awesome. So do that for us. Thank you guys for listening, and like we always end our podcast, remember, we exist for more. We're here to offer more. Don't ever give up. Every single one of us is made for more. Later.
Bye.
YouTube, thank you guys for listening. We got to get this thing wrapped up, and I don't know if I can stop this from my watch, but let's see. Pretty cool. I don't even know if I was in the picture the whole time.
I don't know either.
Yeah, I don't know if it is or not, but I
Here
was
you
like,
are.
all right, guys.
Maybe.
Well, we'll talk to you guys later. See ya.
Bye.